sign on the highway. There's a fork in the road. A lifetime of lessons learned don't mean nothing, it shows. Armchair doctor, experts making all the rules, selling us their theories while they take us all for fools. And there's nowhere left to hide on that freedom road. Don't tell me what to think, don't tell me how to live on that freedom road. Get your hand out of my pocket, I got no more to give, I got no more to give. There's a cop in the distance behind a big box tree. There's a crime being committed somewhere, but the radar gun's on me. A quiet quarter afternoon, I'm doing 105. Like a fat kid on a seesaw, all tilted to one side. And there's nowhere left to hide, and no one's putting up a fight on that freedom road. Don't tell me what to think, don't tell me how to live on that freedom road. Get your hand out of my pocket, I got no more to give, I got no more to give. Clipboard, he's just out of school. He tells me that I'm doing wrong, something he could never do. The writing in a textbook ain't no substitute for life. The rules and regulations, they're just dumbing down our minds. And there's nowhere left to hide, and no one's putting up a fight. They're all just waiting round to die on that freedom road. Don't tell me what to think, don't tell me how to live on that freedom road. Get your hand out of my pocket, I got no more to give on that freedom road. Don't tell me what to think, don't tell me how to live on that freedom road. Get your hand out of my pocket, I got no more to give, I got no more to give.
That's Australia's David Ricciuti with Freedom Road, and it's Kelly in the back there. We filmed that. I think it took a few hours to film that. Tonight we have a very special show. I saw a video on Facebook, a testimony somewhere in Canada, and it was on X actually. And Faith, I hope I'm saying her second name right, Groleau. And but I'm sure I'll get corrected. Oh, she's laughing, so yeah, obviously not. And but it was so heartfelt and so moving. I reached out, and she's agreed to come on, and so I'm really looking forward to meeting her and having this conversation. How are you going, Faith?
Not too bad. Thank you so much, Mr. Griffith. How are you?
I'm okay. How did I do with the second name?
Very close. It's Groleau. I'm French, so we like to make everything a little difficult, but
You like your
yeah.
vowels. You like your
Yes,
vowels.
they do. Yeah.
Well, it's a
Like
great,
having
it's
a
a great
bunch of them.
language. It's great to swear in.
Yes.
It's great. It's the language of love and poetry. I mean, it's just a great language. I'm sorry, it's this.
No, absolutely. A lot of powerful words for sure.
Now, of course, everyone wants to talk about the detransitioning, but I'm actually interested in knowing you rather than what's happened. So, and what you said in there was you were a damaged child. You were hurting, and that's what you needed care. How comfortable are you going back and telling your story from youth? Because this is what I'd like to know about how you got to where you were and how the medical system sort of seemed to take you one way rather than maybe looking to what you actually needed. So would you be okay with doing that?
100%. So the main kind of concept that happened, I had physical medical health issues right from birth. Those were all documented. Okay. I ended up having a complication when I was about 2 years old that was missed. It was misdiagnosed as asthma, and I can get into that for sure. And that went on. Yeah, no, I went being misdiagnosed for about 18 years. Wow. So what ended up happening, I was born with a hole in my diaphragm. It's called a diaphragmatic hernia. When you're born with it, it's congenital. So a lot of my organs were able to travel through that hole, go up into my chest wall. My lungs were underdeveloped. My heart had moved over because it had to make room for everything else. Like my stomach, my spleen, different parts of my intestines, all of them had gone up into the chest. So right from birth, I was actually stillborn. I came out blue because I was so oxygen deprived. I died clinically repeatedly. They had to resuscitate me. So by about 4 days old, I had a reparative surgery. For the first 6 days or so of my life, I was in a medically induced coma because I was moving too much. That repair seemed to work, and it held until I was about 2. You are supposed to expect complications anyway, but I had a sexual assault happen when I was very young. That was violent enough or physical enough that it broke my left collarbone and it reopened that hole. God. And so what happened was about a third of my large intestine went up into my chest wall again, and that got left. And so I had a collapsed lung. My left lung was squished. And so that was why I couldn't breathe properly, but they thought that was asthma. So whenever I would go to the hospital, because I was about 6 when I started, and I would go into the emergency room because I could explain that I had pain in my side. I couldn't explain, like, why I had it, I guess, but I walked in when I was like 6 or 7 years old to the emergency department, and I said, "Hi, I was born with a diaphragmatic hernia. I think the patch ripped off. Can you fix it?" And the doctors, hearing a 6-year-old say that, they're like, you can't say that. You don't know what those words mean. What are you talking about? So they would say, "Yes, dear, we'll look at it, we'll see." And they would just kind of do an x-ray. They'd be like, "No, the patch is still there. I don't know what your problem is. Here's some time and I'll go home." So that happened for the time I was like 6 years old until I was about 23. That's when they actually fixed it. No, and they had it documented on my records. My mom could sit there and explain to them, like, that was the situation. I was born dead, blah, blah, blah. They just didn't do anything.
Ask Faith, how common is this disorder? Because I mean, it sounds.
It is actually quite rare. I forget what the actual statistic is. I think it's. Let me just double check here, because it depends where you look. I think it's different in the States.
Yeah.
I'll just look
that You're in
up.
Canada,
but it's
aren't
not.
You?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not super common, but it does still happen. The condition affects about 2.71 per 10,000 births.
Okay.
And there were several other babies who were born around the same time that I was, and they actually all died. I think there were a couple other girls and one boy, or it might have been a couple boys and one other girl.
Wow.
But what ended up happening
from birth, man.
Yes. No,
You
absolutely.
you came out fighting.
Hmm. That I did. Yeah, a stubborn one for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah,
See,
and
there's
like that
something
was the
in you
start of
that
it.
wants to live because
Yes.
basically life is going, "Hey, throw it in, man. You
Mhm.
wanna quit, quit." But you decided to choose life.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was something that kept connected throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that more as well.
Yeah,
I ended
cool.
up being diagnosed with a dissociative disorder by the time I was like 15. And so my brain literally did kind of split apart. And usually it's supposed to completely split. You're not supposed to know that you have this issue or that there are other things going on. And so what I basically did was I left like breadcrumbs of memories so that I would know something happened, but I wouldn't remember the full extent so that I was like unable to function.
Mm.
But I would remember just enough that I knew something happened and I could keep that in my head. And most of the time when people have the disorder I was diagnosed with, you're not supposed to be able to connect at all or remember anything
Wow.
until adulthood. So for me, it just it kind of
So
stayed
people were
that way.
saying
And there was
you're called Faith
yes,
for a reason.
yes, absolutely. My mother did not make a mistake there. And with the transition, I had changed my name, and so I was very fortunate that I didn't actually change it legally because I was able to just go back to it and definitely keep it. But
Yeah, cool.
yeah, I see that significantly better now than I used to, for sure. I did not appreciate it when I was younger. Um,
That's
but
what
yeah,
aging is, you know?
exactly. Oh, absolutely. It's the maturation process for sure. And that was kind of what they tried to halt. So,
So you're stuck in this war with yourself,
mhm,
it's just and you're fighting against a medical system that doesn't look like it wants to take you seriously.
exactly.
So
No,
there must be a lot of self-doubt in that yourself. Am I,
yeah.
because you're thinking, well,
Oh,
the doctors,
absolutely.
they should know. So you
Doctors,
really are
parents.
against it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, all the adults around me, because even in school, the teachers were not given a medical note of like, oh, this child has an issue. So I was still
Mm.
expected to fully participate in gym class, even though I was walking around with a collapsed left lung, a hole in my diaphragm, and a third of my large intestine up in my chest wall. And they were like, why are
And
you
just
in
told to
pain?
toughen up.
Why can't you breathe? Like, what's the problem? You're just faking it. You just want to get out of the class. You just, right,
Yeah.
one of those things.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
so
would
that
affect your self-worth.
Oh, absolutely. And especially because I couldn't exercise properly, I didn't have the typical female figure I was supposed to have, right? And so
Yeah.
I thought that I looked funny. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't think other people liked how I looked. And you get little comments for sure from kids. Like there was one girl who had said something that she could see my rolls through my shirt, and she wasn't even saying it rudely. It was just an observation. And then she tried to like make me feel better of like, no, I get them too when I sit. I saw it. But it's just, that's not something you want to hear. And then there was
Yeah, my
a
daughter caught
boy.
that as well. I
Yeah,
have a
and
daughter
it's
who did the same thing. Yeah,
yeah,
and they say they
no.
don't do it on purpose, but I think they kinda do,
Yeah,
you know?
no, absolutely. They try to like see how far they can go, or they really just don't have the social cues. Like a lot of the kids I find they come from really messed up homes where
Yeah,
that is just how the parents communicate with them. Like moms will sit there and comment on the daughter's weight or the son's weight, right?
yeah,
And it's brutal. And so that's how they think you're supposed to just talk to people. And so
yeah,
I think a lot of the time it wasn't like on purpose of like, oh, I'm trying to hurt your feelings. It's just that was how they learned. That was what they
yeah,
learned to pay attention to. And
yeah,
so that made it really difficult to kind of navigate school because my family wasn't like super wealthy. So buying new clothes was kind of hard. So as I grew out of them because puberty hit me like a truck, that didn't really help very much with finding shirts that would fit or anything. So yeah, I started with an eating disorder by the time I was 10 because my mom was overweight and she had told me, again, not intending to make it a problem, but she was like, don't eat as much or you'll end up like me, right? And so to me,
mm,
automatically food meant bad.
yeah.
And
Well, wouldn't it?
so yeah, and it just became this whole bunch of different things through my life, put all of these little pieces in place that made me extremely vulnerable to a very quick solution, right? Because I couldn't
Can I
work
ask you
out
a
to try.
question there?
Yes.
Because,
Mhm.
I've got a belief now that one of the problems we have in society is self-worth, and
Mhm.
everything you're saying is aimed at making you feel like shit.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you have to literally you end up hating yourself. I've seen it with so many people. I think we all experience it, but it's
Hmm.
so insidious because we're actually born these beautiful creatures with so much to offer the world, and yet we're made to feel like we're a mistake from the
Yeah.
start. You know, oh
Exactly.
yeah, your nose is too big, you're too short, you know, your ass
Hmm.
is too fat, and
Yeah.
all these things you're going. And as a young child, where you're trying to fit in,
Yeah.
these
You learn
things,
to just be small. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yep. You
yeah,
learn to make yourself fit in the mold because you learn what will make people react in a way that you don't want, right? And so it just because it's one thing when it's kids, but when the adults also echo what the kids are saying, like
100%,
that just makes it so much worse. And for
yeah,
me, like it was, I truly believe it was the levels of psychological torture. You're going through excruciating pain constantly because anytime I would eat food, it would have to pass through my intestine, right? Because it was that. So you've got three parts of your large intestine. You've got one that goes up across the side, one
hmm,
across the top, and then the one that descends into the rest of your
yeah,
body. And so that top bit, that was what got sucked into my chest. And so as the food was trying to go through that, it would have to actually go through the hole, move my ribs aside, and like move everything up. And then a couple hours later, it would go back down through that hole. And so I would explain the pain to the doctors as like, when you hear a car revving the engine and it goes up, 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 and then you shift gears and it drops, like you hear
yeah,
the transmission, that's what the pain would do. Because as it would pop through the hole, then it wouldn't hurt as much anymore. And then
yeah,
once
yeah,
it had to go through the hole, it would hurt again. So it was just, and to have every doctor look at you and say, I don't know what's wrong with you. There's there's not an issue. The patch is still there. You're fine. Here's some Tylenol that should work. I'm like, it's not working. I'm in pain for like 18 to 26 hours. So I don't think that's normal. Um,
so
but
they're
yeah,
just
and
not
then
taking you seriously at all.
no, no. And my mom didn't know how to advocate for me because the doctors didn't give them any sort of information once, like when they knew I was born with a diaphragmatic
Yeah,
hernia, the doctors did not educate my parents. They didn't tell them what to expect. They didn't tell them what types of specialists to follow up with because they expected the family doctor would do that. Family doctor was a moron. A lot of people had issues with him in my city before he passed away. He almost killed my mom because he gave her the wrong medication. She went
oh,
in with a broken hand and he looked at the other hand and said, your hand's fine. I don't know what your problem is. She's like, yes, it was the other one that was broken. So like he was not the brightest one there, and
yeah.
he would
I'm
argue with
laughing
the
this.
patient.
It's
Yeah,
just insane. He looked
no,
at the wrong
absolutely.
hand.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was atrocious, the treatment anybody got from him. But I ended up going to a different doctor, but they were like rotary system almost. So like there was a main doctor, but then they had multiple residents underneath. And so even
Hmm.
if your family doctor was this top person, you would still be allowed to see those residents rather than the actual family doctor, which is
Yeah,
fine when you have simple health care. When you have complicated cases that need follow up, things like that, you can't just be seeing random people who don't know your history and just
yeah,
pop in for 15 minutes and get actual care. You just can't. Um,
yeah.
and so, and because like
And
when I was, yeah,
Anne Rodriguez just said here, one scan could have shown them really. You
yes,
know.
no, absolutely. Once it was 2023, they ended up actually doing a CT scan and it did show them. And they actually had an ultrasound in 2017 while I was being transitioned. And that ultrasound showed them that there was a problem with my diaphragm. But instead of dealing with that, they fast tracked me for the transition and just completely ignored it. They also ignored my psychiatric disorders that I had gotten a year prior to ever being transitioned. They just the doctor even said, I submitted a complaint. The College of Physicians and Surgeons said they wouldn't take any action, so I made an appeal. We're still waiting for that decision, but in that meeting, the representative for the doctor who transitioned me, she sat there and said, "Oh no, the doctor knew that you had those diagnoses. She just treated you as if you did not have them because she didn't see symptoms of them in her appointments with you." And like that's kind of the point of therapy, is that I don't have those issues publicly. But okay. And she's a pediatrician. She was not a psychiatrist. There was no reason for her to override an actual psychiatric diagnosis. But that's what she did. She overrode several of them. I had post traumatic stress disorder, dissociative identity disorder is what I was diagnosed with at 15. anxiety and depression, because they just
I
separated it
think this
all.
was all linked from all the pain
Yes,
and the fact that no
100%.
one's listening to you. You're thoroughly confused. You
Mhm.
actually needed someone to sit down with you. Okay, let's sort this out. Something's not wrong here.
Yeah,
Everything's a mess. You shouldn't be here. But
exactly.
instead, that and within that, because pain can drive you nuts, you
Yes.
know. And so within
Mhm.
all that, you're just struggling.
Yep. Yeah, that was why it split. So the dissociative identity disorder, it used to be multiple personality, they renamed it. And so
Mm,
what happens with that, there is a diagnostic criteria of three main points, basically, that almost everyone who has that disorder will fall under. Basically, you have to have been abused before the age of 10. It has to be extremely traumatic. Like, it's not just a little small thing that hurts. It's like it's excruciating, very bad trauma. Um, that's the second part, and then it usually has to be done by somebody who's a parent, like a primary caregiver, somebody you're around a lot. Because
yeah,
what'll happen is if you consciously remember while you're during your day-to-day life with this person, you remember that they've done these horrible things to you. You cannot function in everyday life because your nervous system reacts to what they've
yeah,
done. So your brain just separates that. You actually get an amnesia block so that you don't remember what happened, and then you can still function and act like nothing happened. That's dissociation at a very extreme point. People dissociate normally. It's usually what you refer to as daydreaming. If you're sitting somewhere and you're not like physically stimulated enough, your brain will just kind of go sit and think about something else. Someone has to
mm,
kind of like snap you back into it. That's dissociation at a very normal level. People do that. That's okay. That's
yeah.
just how boredom works. Your brain just kind of drifts off, but you can
Yeah, I
come
used to
back.
do that all the time in school. Yeah,
Exactly. And so the dissociative problem, like the disorder, is just you do that to a very extreme extent, and you're not supposed to be able to integrate those memories. You're not supposed to remember it. For me,
so
because
it's
it
a
wasn't
survival
yeah,
instinct really for you.
correct.
Disassociation was just your
Yes,
body and your spirit and your mental state just trying to survive.
exactly. Yeah, whatever happens to your body is so traumatic, excruciating, whatever. Your
Mm,
brain at the time, especially if you're really young, just doesn't know how to process it. And so
yeah,
that pain has to go somewhere, and it just hides somewhere in the body. It can show up as nodules in the brain. It can show up as little things in the body. You know, like not. I have a
behavioral.
lot of physical tension. Oh,
So it
absolutely.
has to come out somewhere, even though
Yes,
you're trying to control it, but it comes out behavior or psychosis, all this stuff. Because at some point,
exactly.
even Great Depression, I guess you're guessing
Yep.
it's coming out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Well, I was sad because nobody was listening to me and I was in physical
Yeah,
pain.
and
Like,
you're
it
in a
was
lot of pain.
absolutely psychological torture because it's
Yeah,
just you're sitting there in pain and everyone's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be in pain. Everything's fine. You
and they
know?
can't see it. It's not like you got a
No.
missing arm or a
Yeah.
big scar on your face.
Yeah.
It's internal. They can't see it. They just think
Mhm.
you're
And I
yeah.
wasn't fitting the criteria either, because when you have a collapsed lung, like, that's supposed to be the most excruciating thing ever. You're not supposed to be able
Mm,
to talk or breathe. You're supposed to be right.
yeah,
So for me to just sit there and be talking and being like, yeah, I just have a little bit of pain here. Like, I don't know, it's just a little weird. They don't know what to do with that. And they're not
yeah.
going to look for a collapsed lung because they just don't
And
think
your
that's what
body
it
had
is.
adapted to that because it happened so
Correct.
young. So you'd
Yes.
adapted. So your body was
Exactly. Yeah.
fighting to keep you alive,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you still needed help, but the no help's coming because no one's taking you
Mhm.
serious.
Correct. Yeah. And
Wow,
so my body just kind of
wow,
figured things out. Yeah.
wow.
Um, And I see a comment there actually. I did get trauma counseling. Yeah. They ended up, so there was a point because I was blacking out in high school because of the disorder. Somebody had set me off and I just blacked out and I like pinned him to a locker and I almost punched him in the face. And the only reason I didn't is because I was able to come back and be like, I don't want to hit him in the face. And so I just like punched him like beside his head against the
Mm,
locker. But after I did that, I let him go. I went to the stairwell and I just cried. I was like, what did I just do? And there was an older student that I had gotten close to, and I had his number, so I just texted him. I was like, I don't know what just happened. Something went weird. I'm freaking out. Can you just come help me for a second? And so he left class. He came and sat with me, and what I was describing to him, he had actually done a book report, I think either earlier that year or the year before, on dissociative identity disorder. He had just found it particularly interesting. So he had this knowledge of whatever this disorder was. And he recommended me a book. He said he still had it and he could bring it in the next day so I could read it. And I had never read a book so quickly in my life. because
Wow.
everything that book was describing, I read it in a weekend, and I hated reading. I was horrible at it. I couldn't focus long enough. But this
Yeah.
book described everything I was going through and then some. And because this gentleman who wrote the book, he didn't actually realize his trauma had happened until he was a full adult and like his wife had had a kid. And so he was driving and he would dissociate, and a child also would come out who doesn't know how to drive, right? Like that's the level of dissociation he had, and he didn't know how to put them back or figure that out. He didn't have the control at the time. He was working with a therapist, but like all of that is described in the book, and just watching his experience and being able to read it and realize that mine was not great, but also was significantly not the worst. That was very humbling as well, to be able to kind of realize, like, okay, if this guy can live with it, so can I. I'll figure it out. And I just started getting a whole bunch of information about it and trying to learn what I could. And you basically
So
learn
can I
that you
just
get
stop you
trauma
right
therapy.
there?
Yeah.
So right now, as a young person, you've realized I'm going to have to fix this myself.
Pretty much.
And you've already fought all your way to there because you've had the
Mhm.
in the wars all the way, and suddenly realizing, okay, if I'm going to get out this trench, I have to do it myself.
Mhm.
You actually, wow.
Well, because I
So,
had thought that all of it was psychological at the time. And so
yeah.
I thought all of my pain was just linked to the mental stuff. And so this guy at school gave me the book and said, book an appointment with your doctor, see if they can evaluate you for this thing. And I actually had a doctor's appointment later that day. So I was able to go and say, this just happened like today. There's something really wrong. And so they were able to give me a therapist. She was a youth therapist. She was trained in dissociative identity disorder. And she was able to do some incredible work with me to keep me present and to actually help me understand how it worked, what it was doing, how I could kind of work with it so that I wasn't blacking out as much. And that I was in therapy with her for 6 years. She was 3 years, and then there was a second one because I aged out, and she was 3 years. So it was 6 years of total therapy, but 3 of those was with a youth counselor, and then the other 3 was with an adult therapist. But both of them were phenomenal in terms of being like trauma informed. So they weren't approaching it from a gendered perspective. They weren't coming from fully like pathological side. They weren't trying to medicate me. They were just trying to see where I was at, what I was dealing with, and then going through that. And so they were both phenomenal women. I truly believe they're kind of what saved me, because they were able to give me a much better
Well,
psychiatric
they
base
acknowledged your
for all of
pain
this.
at least.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Acknowledgement is huge,
Mhm.
you know?
That
Yeah.
therapist was one of the first people to tell me that she believed me about the sexual assault, and that changed a lot for me, because it was just for so long everyone was just like, "Oh, it didn't happen, blah blah blah," you know.
But why would you make it up?
No, exactly. And it was weird, because a lot of the time I thought like, "Oh, these are just weird dreams I'm having," but I was like, "Why would I be dreaming about that?" you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was interesting as well, because there was a point, like the assault happened when I was quite young. Like it started when I was quite young, I believe. And there was a memory that I had myself from the time I was like 6, and I held on to that one because I knew that I needed to. But there were things that happened earlier, evidently. But it was just about that one I had for myself at 6, that I knew something had happened. And then when I was 7, the same person had tried doing something again. Like he was asleep and moved his hand a little too close to where I wanted, and I had smacked his hand and woke him up, and he looked at me. He's like, what are you, why are you smacking me? And I said, you can't do that, stop that. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. And there was a voice that came out of me, like something shifted in me, something remembered what he did. I didn't at the time fully, but something else did. And there was a voice that came out of me that wasn't my own, and it just looked at him and said, I remember what you did, and we can't do that anymore. And he looked at me and he opened his mouth to say something, and he just went, okay. And there was never a thing again. He tried one more time when I was 8 to come in the bedroom, but that was it. And he never did anything like sexually abusive again. There was a bit more before that, but like after the fact. But it was just those were those instances of like something else in me remembered what happened and told him off, but whatever it was in him actually listened to a 7-year-old, right? So that was when I really understood I had authority over something like that, but I never truly started to use it because again, you get demoralized when you're being told constantly like, oh, the pain
Absolutely.
isn't real, things like that, if
Trust
you're
is
not
real.
given tools to deal with it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%. Like trusting
Yeah.
therapists was a very, very hard thing for me for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that like the whole childhood basically was just constant
Can I ask you,
dysfunction.
Faith, did
Hmm.
you have something inside you that kept you going? I mean, there must have been times when you thought, "I want out.
Hmm.
I've had enough." Is there something that
There,
got
yeah.
you through those times?
Um,
Like a
Mainly my
philosophy or a
animals.
dream or a
Yeah.
hope?
It was mainly
Animals?
the animals. Yeah, we always had pets growing up, and like I was an only child, so I didn't actually have human siblings. And so
Yeah,
while I was being abused, so were the animals. And so
yeah,
instead of having to stand up for a sibling, I'd stand up for the pets. And that type of fight where I didn't care what happened to me, and I knew, like, I understood why he would hurt the animals because it made him feel big. And so if I just made him feel big and made myself look small, then he would leave the animals alone and he would have
yeah.
been satisfied with that, and so it was fine. So even at a young age, I was able to kind of navigate people like that, and I just kind of used that in school. But the part that kind of held on, the most honest answer I can give you is whatever spirit God gave me. That's it. Like that was
Yeah.
what held on. I I didn't make it. I didn't create that. That was
Oh,
always
I
there.
think it's in you, but
You know.
sometimes,
Yeah,
people yeah,
I can
yeah,
cultivate it, but that seed was not planted by myself.
yeah,
That strength and that authority, that ability was always there. I just
mm,
needed to learn how to actually cultivate it and nurture it.
yeah,
But it's just the surrounding environment I wasn't able to for a while because anytime I tried to encourage myself to be brave or anything like that, you get pushed down by whoever's around you who doesn't want you to be better than them for whatever reason, right?
yeah,
Because it
yeah.
makes them feel bad. They haven't been able to, a whole bunch of different
Human
reasons.
nature.
But yeah, no, exactly. It's the crab in the bucket
Over here, we
situation.
call it the, tall poppy syndrome.
Hmm.
They, like chopping it's just human nature over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going through all this pain, this therapist. When
Hmm.
in that era did you suddenly or did the transitioning turn up as a possibility?
Yeah. So I was 15 when I was diagnosed with all of those psychiatric issues. And
Wow.
I had, when I was about 9, I had told my mom I think I was supposed to be born a boy.
Okay.
And she's like, "Why?" And I
Yeah,
said, "'Cause I
I've heard
like
that.
playing with the guys. I
Yeah.
liked the boy toy, like, I would play with cars and trucks, right? That was just kind of it.
So
And those were the
tomboy.
reasons I gave. Exactly, and that's what mom said. Mom was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's just a tomboy. You're still a girl, but you just like playing with the boys. You get along with them better. That's
Yeah.
fine. Nothing wrong with that." And
Boys can
that
be more
label was
fun.
fine. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%. I hated girls.
Yeah.
I hated being
Yeah.
around them, especially like grown women, because a lot of the grown women I had around me were not healthy women. And so
Yeah.
when I was looking at what I was expected to become, I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. I'm not like that. And so
Can I
because,
just put in there too? I think
Mhm.
so with tomboys too, but uh, young men can be far more, and young boys can be far more accepting.
Oh,
If they like
absolutely.
you, they like you.
Yep.
That's it. They don't gossip about you. They.
Hmm.
So you can see the fun of, and they're fun. They
Yes.
get up to mischief. They
Yep.
get up to stuff. It's a
Hmm.
fun thing. Yeah, I totally
Yep.
get
The
it.
boys actually do fun things, and it's very easy to sort out your issues because it's just a matter, because boys will just hit each other and you're done. Girls will just
That's it.
keep a
No.
grudge for 10 years. It's like,
Yeah, that's right.
I don't have the patience for that. I would rather just
No.
punch you in the face. But I couldn't punch the girls in the face because at that age I would actually hurt them really, really badly because I was
Yeah,
quite strong for my
yeah.
age. And so I could actually roughhouse with the boys. I couldn't roughhouse with the girls. And they didn't want to anyway because they'd get dirty. So I just didn't have the patience. And I thought they were wusses. It was funny because I was the kid, I would chase the boys with a tampon and I would chase the girls with a bug. So I would join both sides and I would just chase everybody. It was great. But yeah, so when I was about 15, the show I Am Jazz had come out, and it was
Oh
being
yeah.
kind of published on YouTube. And so I started finding out about Jazz Jennings, and I believe the other little blonde kid was named Avery, but I might be wrong. But there was a little blonde kid who was looked at as well, and they were recorded kind of through the transition. Both of these kids, the one was like 9 and Jazz was like 2 when the whole process started, because it was Jazz's parents who kind of pushed the whole thing, because Jazz was playing with their sister's toys at like age 2. Parents thought, oh my goodness, kid's gonna grow up gay, and they were on an army base, so you can't have that. And so they take the kid to the doctor and say, oh my goodness, there's something wrong. He's playing with girl toys, playing dress up with his sisters.
Because he's
And the
2.
doctor's like, yes. Yep. And the doctor's like, oh my goodness, he might be trans. Because this is Marcy Bowers. Marcy Bowers was the surgeon for Jazz Jennings. Marcy Bowers was the president of WPATH for a very long time. And WPATH was the organization that was kind of writing the guidelines, even though they're not actually medical professionals. They're all activists. That's fantastic. So like none of them are psychologists, none of them are psychiatrists, none of them actually understand like child, adolescent, youth, mental development, nothing like that. They're just a bunch of people who believe that if the men who want to transition to women were able to start earlier, they would be able to pass better as women. So we have to catch them while they're young. But it's only for the good reasons for the male to female, because the female to male does not have the good results. Technically, neither of them do if you start in childhood, but they want to argue that all they want. But even in the argument that it's good for one of them, it's still not good for the other, and there's no way to vet them. And so there is no good science to back up starting the process in childhood or adolescence. Like there's no actual good evidence to back that, but they're just pushing it. And they've been pushing it so long and so loud. But yeah,
That's
no,
astonishing.
absolutely.
So you got caught up in all this.
Yep. Yeah, I went in because I just happened to think, oh, well, I seem to be more like a boy. Because I had a bit of a belly, I was like, oh, if I was a man, that's more acceptable. Boys were allowed to
And
have
you've
the
been
belly, right?
vulnerable,
Yep,
looking for
absolutely.
acceptance, looking for all these things that you do as a child.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just wanted to be enough, and I just wanted to not be in pain all the time. And it's funny too, because the endocrinologist in his notes in my medical records, he says at one point while I was being transitioned, he's like, oh, I hear good breath sounds bilaterally in both lungs. I'm like, there's no way you could have, because one of them was collapsed. So whatever you were listening to was not my lung. But like, I don't know what these people were talking about in any of it, because they didn't even explain the drugs properly. But yeah, so I was about 15 when the whole thing kind of started, and I started questioning it really seriously. So that would have been around 2015. My age corresponds. I was born in 99.
You're in so much pain. There's, you're kind of lost in childhood as well, because at 15 you're still a child. There's, you're lost in all of this, and you're looking also for a cure, something that can go, okay, let's put all this behind me and start a new story. Was this weighing on you as well, thinking that was the attraction to it? I could
Oh,
get here.
absolutely.
So I've been born wrong, basically.
Yeah.
And they're going to fix me, and I can restart my life.
100%, because that's what they sell it as, right? They don't tell you that the disorders are potentially connected, but like won't be fixed by one solution. They tell you you transitioning is going to fix all of your mental health issues and your physical health issues. But the problem was the physical health issue couldn't have been fixed by a transition. And the mental health issues got worse because you're giving a biological female synthetic testosterone. Because I was 16 when I actually started transitioning. So they gave me puberty blockers at 16 when I was right in the middle of my puberty. It had already started. So my body is seeking natural estrogen to develop those cells that it needs to become a woman. And my body is instead getting all of that repressed. And then I'm being injected with synthetic testosterone instead. So
and did they tell you about how this would affect you? Did they keep you fully
not
informed?
Properly? No, absolutely not. And even if they had actually told me all of the information, because of the dissociative disorder, I don't remember all of my appointments alone with this lady.
Anyway.
Correct. There's no way that you can give fully informed consent. And they actually changed the language. They call it fully informed assent when you're a minor and if your parent signs, because they say a child cannot give fully informed consent because they're a child. But what you can do is the doctor can see how much you can understand cognitively at your age. And so if the doctor deems that you can understand this much, your parents are responsible for signing that paper to understand the rest of it. And my mom was manipulated into signing it because the doctor said at the age of 16, the legal age of medical consent in Canada is like 16. Sometimes it depends though. So if you have a kid who's diabetic, the doctors will basically assume that the kid can understand what they're talking about when they're trying to tell this child how to give them their own insulin or whatever they might need,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I get
To
that,
check their medications and their sugar levels. But they will then inform the parents and say, okay, you have to help monitor them, blah blah blah, do all of this. But they're assuming that that child will understand any of what they just told them.
yeah.
In medical assent, that's what that is. So they're using that type of language. Then they're manipulating the parent, saying, we can do this without your consent anyway. So you don't actually have to sign. If
Because
you
we can take
do
the child
sign,
away,
correct. Yep. We'll
which
take
is
the
every
child
parent's
away.
horror.
Yep.
It's horrifying to a parent to think your child could be taken away.
Oh, absolutely. Mom was horrified of that. And especially when you've got doctors sitting there telling you, we'll just solve all of your problems. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And if we don't do this, your child will die. What parent would not give their child
Wow.
the solution if you're being told your child's going to kill themselves, right?
Just give us a moment there. So basically, they're
Yeah.
saying this will fix all of Faith's problems, and if you do nothing, Faith will die.
Correct.
And this is doctors telling it to, lay people who
Yeah.
trust doctors, because that's a cultural thing that we do.
Absolutely.
So there they are.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, mom works a
And
full-time
you
job, right?
are just caught in the side of it.
Yeah.
In the
I
middle
had
of it.
gone to them basically saying, I think I'm trans, but I had based it off of the old version of transsexual from the 80s. I didn't think I was this new version of transgender. I had done research and I had found people like Buck Angel who had transitioned like back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And the version that Buck has become, that was what I thought I was, where I never thought I was going to change my biological sex. I understood how science worked even at 15. I knew that's not what was happening. I even thought at 15 the term sex change was stupid. So I was like, that's not what you're doing. But whatever, that's what they call it. Not my problem. But I started noticing they were changing all of the language and they were trying to remove words like transvestite and stuff. I'm like, well, those are part of it, though. That was part of what built the whole community. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But it was just, I saw that whole language part changing, but I only knew that because I had done the research to look back as far as I did. And even then, I didn't look back far enough because you still have to go back to like the Nazi experimentation. Then you have to go back to the eugenics in the 30s there and the eugenics in the 20s here before you even get a taste of where all of it's coming from.
Yeah.
Because instead of the doctors deeming you feeble-minded, now we have these psychiatric diagnoses who are telling you you're some form of crazy. And then the doctors are just letting specifically those types of crazy diagnose themselves as trans and go sterilize themselves, because that's ultimately what the drugs and the surgeries do. So
that's
yeah.
It's we have a friend of the show called Mayana, and she transitioned about 32 years ago, 30 years ago. And she said she had to do it. She had gender dysphoria. She says exactly. She knew she wasn't going to become a biological woman, but she had to do what she had to do. But I won't talk for long on this, but in Australia then, it was very hard for her to go through it because the health system wanted to make sure she was absolutely assured she was on the right path. So she had to see psychologists every week, and they're going, "You sure?" They're really testing her, so that when she went through with it, they'll go, "Okay, yep, we're all agreed. This is the only option. It's going to be best for." 30 years later, she's successful.
Yep.
And that's our fear now. Now it's like a fast track system. It's like Aldi. You just, I don't know if you have Aldi in Canada, but it's just like a fast track thing. It's a supermarket over here. But it's like a fast track thing without the due care and consideration for you. Are we sure Faith needs this, or is Faith just confused? Faith just looking for answers in a crazy world? Sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to follow as I'm going in. Please continue.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the main part of it, though. Like, there was no way that I could have given fully informed consent because I was a minor, because I had the dissociative problem. But they also didn't explain the drugs properly either. When you look at what puberty blockers actually are, it's Lupron Depot or leuprolide acetate, I think is the other medical term. But anyway, we used to use it as a chemical castration drug for sex offenders in prison.
That's correct.
They actually vet the prisoners and the sex offenders better than they vet the children. Like, they find it inhumane to give it to the sex offenders. And so we have to really be sure that they're going to reoffend again. That's why we have to give it to them, right? But when you look at how it's actually described, like by the drug sheet itself, the Lupron Depot specifically lowers your testosterone. The way that they're telling kids it works is that it suppresses, well, it depends, I think, on who you are. My doctors told me as a female, it would drop my estrogen down to make it the same as the natural testosterone, so that when they started supplementing the testosterone with the synthetic stuff, the testosterone would go up, the estrogen would stay down. That's not how a puberty blocker works. That's not how Lupron Depot works. It actually lowers your testosterone. So if they're putting kids on a puberty blocker, it's lowering their testosterone, and then you have to overcompensate with the testosterone. That's why they're prescribing so much. Because if
So
you're
they're not
on a
giving you
puberty
informed
blocker,
consent.
no,
They're giving you a story that's false.
correct. Yeah, they're not explaining anything properly. Yeah, no, they didn't explain anything. And then, God forbid, my mother asked questions. Yes.
These are children.
Yes, and now they're younger than I was, and that's why I started speaking out, because I knew that there were several people around my age, but then they started getting younger, and they were going farther than I was, faster than I was. There were 3 of us who were approved for top surgery around the same time. I was the only one who didn't get it, and both the other 2 got no nipples. They opted for no
when you
nipples.
say top surgery, just for us lay people, that's the removal of the breast where they have those scars.
Correct, double mastectomy. Now, you can have different versions. There are different types of surgeries you can have. It depends on your body type. Because I was a little overweight at the time, I would have needed like the double long scars right underneath. And they said that because of how my body was shaped, I could have ended up with something called dog ears. And so what that is the skin at the sides where your breasts originally sit. If you're a little overweight, you've got excess skin there. And because insurance won't actually cover, like, it won't cover the masculinization part, it won't cover the cosmetic part, but it will cover the glandular tissue removal and the fat tissue removal, and potentially the nipples. But like, I believe nipple grafting you actually have to pay extra for. But even with that, even if it is covered, there's a very high chance they fall off anyway because they die. But yeah.
So the nipples just fall off?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, because again, these are children, so they're either missing school or they're having to go back to school while they're recovering from a botched surgery. God forbid the nipple falls off, and then they have to deal with that. You know. And like, when I had my corrective surgery in 2023, where like I actually needed that to save my life, I had something similar what they warned me about with the dog ear because of where the incision had to go. And so I realized with the actual life-saving surgery, if I had actually gone through with the top surgery, I would have been mortified. I would have hated what I had done to myself. I would not have been happy with the results. I wouldn't have been able to trust the doctor. Because even when I had the life-saving surgery, he didn't do the surgery properly the way he explained it. He said I was only going to have a vertical incision, but he ended up having to go up and like cut into my rib cage and through the cartilage and remove part of it. Like, it was a ridiculous incision that I got. And nothing like what he had described originally, but like, that's understandable. That was a life-saving surgery. I completely understand that. I can live with that. But if they had done something like that to a completely elective cosmetic surgery that I didn't actually need to live, I would have been so much worse mentally, you know. And even the bottom surgery, I never went into transitioning thinking I would get bottom surgery, because I had looked into, I actually had to lie on the internet. So to look at the post-operative photos for top or bottom surgery, which is top surgery is the double mastectomy for female to male. Bottom surgery is phalloplasty usually, but they also have different ones. They've got like a metoidioplasty, I think is what it's called. They have different versions where you just do different stuff to it, but either way, it's genital surgery. And I had gone in knowing, had I gotten a bottom surgery or a phalloplasty, I would have been more dysphoric. I would have been more uncomfortable. So even right from the beginning, I knew I wasn't getting it. But you had to be 18 to look at those post-operative pictures. I was like 16. So I was lying on the internet so that I could gain access
Why
to
not?
see the surgery I
So
was
they're
doing.
going to
Yep.
let you do the operation without seeing the evidence because you're not 18, but they're going to let you do the operation.
Yeah. The surgeon will probably show you
Where,
pictures.
anywhere does that make
But yeah,
sense?
it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah. Hmm.
I so admire your bravery for speaking out. I really do. It's
Oh,
devastating.
no,
I'm so
it's,
sorry,
yeah.
Faith.
No,
We need
it
to hear
needs
this
to be.
here. There's a
Yeah.
madness over our country. They're doing
No,
kids as
absolutely.
young as 6.
Oh.
There's a madness in this country, and it's all free here.
Yep. That's
You
what
don't
they're
pay.
trying to get it here. They're trying to make it like, the problem is, if they had actually started advocating for the surgeries for the adults to be covered, that probably would have gone over significantly better than trying to go after the kids. The problem is, it's because it's the trans male to female who want to have those really good results, who want to make sure that they're passable, and testosterone is a brute. When you go through, like, my voice is permanently like this. I have facial and body hair that grows now. That's permanent unless I get laser hair removal, which is expensive and not covered when you're detransitioning. But they cover it if you want to get a phalloplasty. They'll cover the electrolysis if you want to get a fake penis sewn on, and they'll do that for you. But they won't cover it after you've elected to take testosterone and potentially made a mistake. They only cover the one side of things.
And as
Because
far as
that's
I
really
know,
the
the
problem.
fake penis does nothing.
No, that's correct. The science is not there, and that was what I found, and that was why I was like, I would be worse with it. I'm not going to get it. But I knew trans women who had their bottom surgeries, the vaginoplasties. I actually, when I was younger and very much in the community, I actually had the opportunity to sleep with one who was post-op. So like I've had very up close experience with what the results are of the post-op for male to female. And it's not like, as someone who has the actual biological version, it's not the same. You know, and that's nothing against the people it works for. That's fine, but it doesn't need to be put on children. That's for sure. And they certainly don't need to be
That's
lied to that it's the same.
That's the
You know,
issue.
yeah.
Like
Like
we have
even
a
the
thing
trans people. Hmm.
over here. Like we're saying, look, if you're an adult, if you feel you
Hmm.
need to do it, you're a free human being. We have the
Yeah.
ability to do it. Absolutely knock yourself out. But children are impressionable.
Yeah.
Children want
Exactly.
love. Children want attention. And here they're getting attention from all these experts.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly you've got worth, but it's not worth. They're just using you because they're pushing an ideology. They're just trying to use you as an example that they're correct.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's really, really unfortunate. And that was the whole problem for me, is like, I knew that there were older people and people my age at the time, but once I saw it was younger kids who were going in and, again, going farther, like they were getting the puberty blockers really early on, and then they were just going farther. They were getting the top surgeries and the bottom surgeries that I just wasn't. I opted out. Like, I got approved for it. I was supposed to get top surgery and it would have been covered by my insurance, but I just had different priorities at the time because of the therapy I was getting. I didn't care enough about changing my body. I just wanted to get a house or, have a car or something like that. Like, those were my priorities, going to school or something. That was more what I focused on. But it was unfortunate that it wasn't the doctors and the medical professionals who were like, you don't have to do this right now. Like, you can slow down. But it was me who ended up making the decision of like, you know what? I've seen all of these trans people because there was a gentleman, well, I say gentleman, he was trans, he was a female to male. And that was somebody who was facilitating this local group that was kind of like a support group for trans and gender diverse youth. And so it was specifically a youth group. So it was all 17 and under. And this person was in their 50s, had a top surgery finally, came in and flashed us all because of how excited they were for their top surgery. I'm like, we're children. We're all like 17 and under. And you just came in, a biological female just came in and showed us your double mastectomy scars, essentially, right? Like, I get it. kind of like, it's a male chest, but no, it's not. It isn't. You're still a woman. Just because you've had hysterectomy and all of this, just because it makes you more comfortable, does not change that reality. So why is it okay? Because I see this all the time on the internet. They will now not censor the female to male people who get their breasts removed. If they take photos topless, they don't censor them now, but they'll censor them if they're still women. And they'll censor the male to females. I'm like, but that's not a female breast. Like, you people are nuts. Like, they can't even follow their own regulations. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I was seeing so much happening, and they were younger, and it was just not right. And I was like, I know I wasn't right. I was a child. And that was the biggest part of, like, I just kind of went in saying, like, I think this might be it. You want to help me out? And they were like, yeah, I think you're a great candidate. I'm like, that's not what I asked. I didn't ask if I was a good candidate. I asked if I had this thing or not, you know?
Yeah.
But they were just more than willing to completely let me go and do whatever, right? And had they actually done these surgeries or anything on me, like even giving me the testosterone was bad enough, because I think it gave me liver issues. I was having liver problems while I was on the testosterone, and they went away after I stopped it. Funny that. But it wasn't driven by the doctors. That's the best part. None of it was. What happened was I went in and said, I think I have this. The doctor said, yeah, we think you might too. You are more than welcome to think that. Have fun. They gave me all the drugs I wanted. They approved me for the surgeries.
No doctor sat you down and said, listen, you're young. You know, next week you might decide you're this, or next week you might decide you're that, or this, or gay, or lesbian, or whatever whatever comes along, you might, because you're looking for who you are.
Yep, absolutely.
And they come along and go, yep. So they no duty of care to you as a human. No. It's just, oh, we got another one.
Yep. The moment you say you're trans, especially in Canada, because they have the conversion therapy ban, they've defined the conversion therapy as you are not allowed to tell a trans-identified person that they can be comfortable in their biological sex. That's conversion therapy in our country.
You're not allowed.
Correct. You cannot tell a child who thinks that they're trans that they can live in their natal body. That is conversion therapy here. And so the moment a child says, I think I'm trans, a regular therapist cannot see you. A psychotherapist who's actually trauma-informed, they have to refer you to the gender clinic, because it is illegal for them to tell the child that they can live happily as their biological sex. They're not allowed. And that's where the trap is, because anyone who does actually want to help the kids is not allowed. Their hands are tied because they'll be arrested. And then the only other people who will see you is
the state is facilitating this then. The state.
They're funding it. Yeah, it's tax funded. It's all insurance.
No, but there's the state is facilitating the transition
because of the laws.
Without actually going, look, this is another child. We have to be 150,000% sure, because if this child goes all the way, they can't get back. It's not like buying earrings and you're wearing earrings or a tattoo, you can get it removed. That's horrendous.
And that's the thing as well. You cannot get a tattoo. You can't get a tattoo until you're 18. You can't drink until you're 19. You can't drive until you're 16. But you can cut off your genitals all you want. Yep. Healthy body parts.
We'd reach the point. I mean, you're a lot younger than me, Faith, but whoever thought we'd reach the point in the world where that comment was actually legal, was actually, it sounds like madness from some crazy novel.
Well, I've been hearing people say, like, it's Orwellian, and as far as I can tell, that's the closest most people got to, like, writing a fictitious presumption of what we would get to, and even that wasn't as bad as where we're actually at. So, like, I don't know, even biblically, like, Sodom and Gomorrah has nothing here. They were not just transitioning the children and telling them that they could be fixed. Like that, they were doing child sacrifice, sure, but they were at least open about it. They weren't lying to you saying, you're just going to have a great time. You're going to go have a better life. Because that's the thing. They don't tell you the drugs shorten your lifespan. They don't tell you you're going to be on them for the rest of your life. If you get the vaginoplasty. Sorry.
Let's talk about that. So let's talk. So you go through now. So you didn't get surgery. So you stayed away from that as far as I can see. So I'm thankful for that.
As am I, Oh, absolutely.
But what else? Are you still on medication now and other things like this? And so what are you on now?
I was very, very fortunate to be able to take everything off. So
Okay.
I had been given an SSRI when I was 15 because of the mental health issues. So that was Zoloft, I think it's known as usually,
Yeah.
but the chemical name is sertraline.
Yeah.
And we're finding now that SSRIs actually have a lot of the similar problems to puberty blockers. So they actually lower your sex drive as well. They do a lot of other things mentally. The withdrawal is absolutely brutal. When I was coming off of those, it sucked. And I was on those
Like
from
what? Can you
15
tell us
till
what they
22.
are?
Yeah, it's basically flu-like symptoms. You're shaky, aches all over.
Yeah.
You feel hot and cold at the same time. Headaches, ridiculous headaches.
So it's like
Um,
cold turkey of heroin or something.
Yes. No, absolutely it is. SSRIs are brutal. And the longer you're on them, the worse it is to come off. I was on them from 15 to 22, so it wasn't super long. Like some people are on it when they're really, really young for most of their lives, and then they
Yeah.
try to come off and they actually can't.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate to be able to, but it was horrible coming off them because I didn't I didn't wean myself properly. I had been on quite a high dose, and there was a point I wasn't taking them properly, and so because I would just forget. I was very busy through the day, and I just wouldn't take them, and so I ended up. Um, I think I was taking them like on and off, so I would experience like mild withdrawal, and that's how I would remember to take them. And I was like, "This is probably not good. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that." And I had decided to take, like when I was taking testosterone, that started when I was about 18. The puberty blockers started when I was 16. Um, I got birth control somewhere in between there or after. I'm still not entirely clear when they actually got me off of the puberty blockers, but I had stopped those. That
Has that
actually
affected
was
your
interesting.
fertility?
We're not sure. We won't know until I actually try to have kids. The problem for me as well is I had PCOS right from the start. Like I had symptoms of PCOS or endometriosis. They actually believe I have both,
Right.
which is rare. Um, but I had symptoms of that right, like even before I started having my puberty. When I was 11,
Mm.
I was getting like cramps and really bad pains, but I wouldn't have the bleeding. And then when I was 12 and a half, I started the bleeding part of it. Um, so the fertility would already have been difficult with the PCOS alone. And then the fact that I got the puberty blockers, which is specifically a chemical castration drug, and then I was given testosterone on top of that, I believe I should still be okay because, like, I should be able to have kids because I still bleed now. Like, that came back. And
Oh,
that's
good.
usually the sign of having it
Yeah.
come back. The problem with
Yeah.
that is they don't actually know what the quality of the eggs are. So one thing that isn't being researched
Oh, yes.
is that because a woman is born with all of her eggs and they
Yeah.
just have to come to maturation through your cycle, when you take any medication, so me being on the SSRI, me having the asthmatic medications that I was on, me having the puberty blockers, the testosterone, all of that, those could all have affected my eggs while they were still in my body, waiting to mature and develop.
Mm.
As they mature and develop, if I have a daughter, I may have screwed up her eggs, which also means if she has a daughter, I may have screwed up my granddaughter's eggs. Because if my daughter is born with all of her eggs and I've screwed up the one, I've now screwed up that entire generational line of them. And there's no way to protect one egg from the others, right? If
Yep.
you take medication, it's all going into all of your body. And they don't tell you that because they don't know that's happening, because they repress all of the research, because it makes them look bad,
Yeah.
right? And they don't want to look bad. And so they just hide it instead of admitting they might be wrong. But,
So
and then it's the kids who
their
suffer.
ideology is more
Yeah.
important than you.
No, absolutely. We're just a means to an end for them because it's just a matter of figuring out how they can have babies without wounds, basically. And the other thing as well is I've heard a lot of people, like when I was being transitioned, there was an older male to female who had had the testicles removed and the sperm frozen. Other people, like female to male, I heard that they actually had their eggs frozen and they didn't have to pay for it. I didn't express any concern about my fertility because I was 15, 16 years old.
Of
And
course.
I thought that if I had children, I would screw them up because of how badly I was abused. I didn't think I would be a good parent. That was
Yeah.
why I didn't want children. They didn't ask me that. They
Faith,
didn't
that's
care.
a normal thing to know
Yeah.
when you
Oh,
when you're
absolutely.
struggling. That's
Yeah.
normal. You get older
Yeah.
and then suddenly you get pregnant. It's like
Yeah.
life goes, I don't care. What's wrong with
Yep.
your mental state? You're having a
Yeah.
baby.
No,
It
absolutely.
doesn't wait. It doesn't wait
No,
until you've got
you
the
learn.
application. Now I'm ready. Nature
Yeah.
doesn't care. We're
No.
popping, you know.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's beautiful to get that experience now. Like I never had baby fever when I was younger, but again, I was on an SSRI. So of course I
Yeah.
did. All of
Yeah.
my feelings were numbed, and they just took that numb feeling as, "Oh, well, you must be a boy." Not the fact that I'm on a medication that will numb me,
Yeah, that's right.
plus again with
Or
the
that you
trauma
haven't
and the
met the
history and
person you wanna
normal.
have babies with. It's a
Exactly. Yeah.
spiritual thing. You meet someone, fall in
Yeah.
love, and going, I wanna have a child with this person."
Yeah.
There's all these other connections too. That's
Yeah.
life, you
And
know?
they're specifically halting that because once you start the puberty block, puberty is what gives you those feelings.
Yeah,
Puberty is what allows you to actually grow into the adult who wants to have kids. But the
yeah,
problem is they're stopping the puberty and selling you a fake cure that will break you. And that's what it is. They're intentionally stopping the natural cure for like 80% of these kids. That's what the research shows.
yeah,
80% of people who are gender dysphoric before puberty will grow out of it by puberty. And the
yeah,
puberty is what solves it. But because they're so insistent that the puberty is dangerous and they'll kill themselves before that, it's a problem,
yeah,
right? And so they insist that it's a life or death situation and that you have to intervene as early as possible, which means the kids don't have any time to potentially change their minds before they're permanently altered.
Well, one reason I reached out to you, Faith, was, I interview people all the time, and I interviewed some trauma cleaners recently, and, they're the ones that go in after deaths or
Yeah.
stuff like this. And they showed me an image of where a fully transitioned, well, she became a young woman, had taken a
Mhm.
life in this lonely little room. And I thought, wow, she mustn't have been able to, get back because it was all she left was a picture of her face or a angry face with the eyes deeply scribbled out. And it just really wrecked me. I thought
Yeah.
we have to help these people. One, gender dysphoria must be a horrendous thing to have. I'm sorry, if I know it's rare, but it must be horrendous.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
the fear is with transitioning, and I'm so glad you didn't get the surgery, is you can't get back.
No. No, exactly.
That's the tragedy. You've made a mistake. Other mistakes you can get back. You took up surfing. You don't like it, sell your surfboard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
this is horrendous, and the fact that it's state pushed by the state,
Yeah.
protected by the state, and the doctors themselves apparently don't seem to. Well, they seem to have more passion for what they're doing rather than who they're doing it to.
Yep.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So when
And
did
if
you start
you
the detransitioning? What happened? Did you suddenly wake up one morning and go, "I've had enough," or what happened?
Yeah, so around 22 years old, which was 2022, during COVID in 2020,
Well,
they
COVID as
actually
well. Oh
started.
my
Well, it's this is the interesting part. So because of
I'm
COVID,
just
they
laughing
started.
because I mean, you're going
Yeah,
through so much wars and
yeah,
now suddenly you've got a pandemic. Go, really?
yeah,
You
I
didn't
know.
want to send a nuclear bomb, an asteroid. You could just get it all
Yeah,
done.
no, exactly. Um, but during COVID, they ran out of the vials that I was getting my testosterone in. And so
Oh,
the medication that they gave me to replace it was an androgel. So it's a topical gel, but it's in these little packets. And so it's extremely more expensive.
mm,
And so a 3-month supply was like $300. And I couldn't afford that.
wow.
But I could afford like a 1-month supply at a time. And so I was rationing the testosterone. I wasn't using it properly. I was supposed to use it every day, and I wasn't. And the sertraline or the SSRI, I was doing the same thing. I wasn't using it properly because I kept
Yeah,
forgetting to take it. And so in 2022, I had been taking both of those improperly for like 2 years. And then my grandfather passed away. And I was like, I can't keep going on and off of the medications. Might as well just see what happens if I'm off of them and go from there. And then if it's still bad, I'll just go back on them. But like, been on it since I was 15. I can see what it's like without the SSRI and see if I'm really that bad still, and then the testosterone. I was like, I
I love how
understand that those.
sensible you are. The world's
Sorry.
insane. I love how sensible you are. Like around you
Oh,
is a hurricane of madness,
yeah.
and in there you're all damaged. But
Hmm.
from your childhood with everything going on,
Hmm.
and but there's a part of you that's very sensible, just
Hmm.
like in the core. It's probably why you're
Yeah.
still alive, to be honest.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I fully
Yeah,
believe that, and that's why I can't explain it other than God, because that part of me is
yeah,
not
I'm with you,
something
man.
that I
I'm with you.
was able to create myself. That was already
Yeah,
there and well established, but I just had to kind of nurture it more. But yeah, I was very fortunate to be willing to listen to that part of me. It was
yeah,
interesting. There was a point when I believe I was 12. My dad had just left the home, and there was a point I thought I had tried to kill myself. Apparently, I might have just passed out from the physical thing. I'm not
yeah.
entirely sure what happened, but I had this blackout instance. I thought I died. I actually thought I met death, but there was a voice that told me, just hold on till you're 25. And I went, what? But there was just something that told me
Yeah.
at the age of like 12, just hold on till you're 25. It's gonna suck, but just, hold on until that. And I got to like, I think I got to like 18, 19. And so I was still transitioning, but I thought it was like really bad. I thought life sucked. My relationship with my family wasn't fantastic. The transition certainly didn't help that. But like that was kind of a point where I was like, okay, I'm supposed to hold on for how long now? Um, but by the time I was 25, because when I was 24, I actually like fully detransitioned and realized it. So by the time I was 25, everything had actually made sense. And I was
Wow.
able to just move forward, start speaking out. So I was like, oh, well, that's where that voice came from. Something new that by the time I was 25, things would make sense. I'd be able to get my footing again. So I don't know what it was, but that was
It
kind
could
of
be
this
great
thing, that
purpose.
voice. Yeah.
I mean, what you're doing now is incredible. What you're talking now, I'm in awe. I want to cry. Actually, I really want to cry.
So,
And
yeah.
I don't want to cry. I want to cry because I'm so angry
Yeah.
that these people are doing this to you and not actually caring for you, just falsely virtue signaling caring for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I just
Exactly.
go back a bit? So you stopped
Yes.
taking the medication.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. So
happened
that was
then? Did your
22.
body start to when you stopped taking the medication? Because you said you wanted to see if
Hmm.
you'd go back on it. So what happened in that process? Did you suddenly thoughts change or spiritually change? What happened in that period?
I was still actually quite content living as a man. From the time I was 22 until I was 24, I thought that I would just kind of wait, because my mentality was my breasts will still be there by the time I'm 50. If I um, choose to have kids, like the window basically is until you're like 35-ish, 40 at the
Mm,
latest now, but it used to be like 30, 35 when I was
yeah,
in school. But that was kind of my thinking of like, well, by 30 something, if I still don't have kids, then I know that I'll survive long enough till I'm 50 to get them removed if I need. Like, I'll have more money
yeah.
by then to throw it around. So
That
I
sounds
was
like a part of
fine.
your game.
Yeah, and that was the funny part too, because I actually, when I was getting ended up on birth control, and the lady who was doing my injections, she was a nurse, and I said to her, I'm like, so because it's a progesterone based birth control, could I stop the puberty blocker, because it'll basically do the same thing and there's no estrogen, so it won't interact with the testosterone? And she smiled at me. She's like, huh, you know what? I don't know. We could try it and see.
We don't know.
That was how everybody handled it, though. I was allowed to make a suggestion and they would go, sure, we can try it and see. I don't know. Um, and so
The
by the time
students
I was,
become the master.
yeah, unfortunately, and we
That's
should not be the
incredible.
masters with chemicals. Um,
No, I
but
don't fully agree.
no, no, I didn't either. But I was like, whatever. And
Can
when
I
I
just
ended
ask
up,
one point though?
yeah.
Can I just ask, and this is just where we are, and at some point, because you're so sensible, you must have thought, I'm living on as a man, but I'm on birth control.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was hilarious because I had been seeing a biological female at the time,
Yeah,
but
cool.
the reason I ended up on the birth control was because of the period pains I had been having, like, before ever
And
transitioning. That was the whole point. Yeah, I know. But that was the whole point of getting them in the first place. And so it was
yeah,
just to have the birth control was nice. And then after I broke up with the biological female, I started being with men again. So it was nice to have it, but it was just like
yeah.
I was with both either way. And it didn't seem to make a difference with the testosterone for me. I
Seems to
think
be
I
quite,
was with more girls. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
And I
very
think that's
old word. We found it in a
yeah.
museum, but that's
Yeah.
basically, you're more into people than deciding what gender you want.
Yes.
You're more into people. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
exactly. No, and it
You
was
know?
for me as well because of the trauma. It was a matter of I wanted to find somebody that I knew, even if it went south, I'd be able to handle myself, right? And so I
Yeah,
was
cool.
with people who were weaker than me physically, and that
Yeah,
just usually happens to be women or very like skinny men that tended to
yeah,
be it as well. But then that caused more of an issue for the weight issue as well, because when they were smaller than me, I felt big, and I didn't like that. So
yeah.
that was always
It
a bit
does.
tough mentally. But yeah, I by 22 I had come off of the medications just because I was like I have better things to do and worry about, and the breast will still be
Yeah,
there to
great.
remove later. And so I had done that kind of on my own, but then in 24 the WPATH files came out in March, and when I read those, they were written by Mia Hughes actually. Um, People might know the other gentleman better. His name was also Michael, but Mia was the one who actually like worked over them and wrote the files. And so that basically goes in to great detail about how the people at WPATH, which is the World Professional for Transgender Health, or
Yeah.
World Professional Association for Transgender Health, sorry. But those people were setting the guidelines. WPATH files revealed how they were setting the guidelines, where those guidelines were coming from, and how corrupt the thing actually is, and the fact that the doctors know that they are abusing kids because the kids don't know what they're consenting to and couldn't possibly. So all
No,
of
of
those
course not.
files came out, and then I realized that my doctors probably had no idea what they were doing, probably didn't transition me properly.
Yeah.
So those came out in March of 24, and by April, I had submitted a claim to the College of Physicians and
Can I
Surgeons,
go
and I
back
had
to
actually
what were you
detransitioned.
feeling when you were reading those files and you
Sick.
realized that? Because you've
Oh,
been
I was sick.
betrayed by someone in your
Hmm.
youth,
Yeah.
you know? You've been betrayed by doctors who didn't take what was wrong with you seriously, and they
Yeah.
just need to scan, they didn't do it. Now you're here. How
Hmm.
did you deal with that level of betrayal?
I cried a lot. I
Of
cried.
course you did.
I felt sick for a very long time. I was very, very angry for a while.
I
Like
bet.
for a few months, I wouldn't trust anybody. I remember going into my doctor the one day when I realized what had happened, and I got in her face basically. Like I was like,
Yeah,
I was transitioned incorrectly. You guys transitioned people. Like, how did this even happen? What are you gonna do about it? Because it's your regulatory system. Like, help me here. And she was
yeah,
like, I can't do anything. We didn't transition you, but like, here's the number for the College of Physicians and Surgeons. You can go make a complaint to them. I don't know. Um, but yeah, nobody really knew what to do with me, and they still don't, because usually when you have like medical procedures and a way to kind of go with it, there's a protocol that the doctors are supposed to have followed, so that you know that in this case with this type of a patient you'll have these amount of medications given, and this is what you do to correct it. They didn't do that. They didn't do any of the monitoring, they didn't do the thing properly, and so the doctors have no idea how to handle me because there is no guideline for what they've done. So even if I do get a chance to see a specialist, which I've been waiting 2 years for a gynecologist, um, they just don't know what to do with me, even if I can see them. I've had somebody try to diagnose me with fibromyalgia, but because of everything that had happened, I'm pretty sure it's not fibromyalgia. So in 2023, I had the reparative surgery, and by 24, I believe, or 25, I had hernias reoccur where the incision was. And so I had an ultrasound technician trying to see what the hernias were like, see how bad they were, right? She wanted to just get imaging of it. And there was a point she was trying to like look under my left part of my rib cage because she thought the hernia was over there. And when they did the surgery in 2023, they had to cut through my rib cage and like cut in between the cartilage there. And I believe they had to actually cut off the one anchor point so that they could move my ribs out of the way, and they reattached it. But when she was looking with the ultrasound wand, she actually popped my ribs off, my sternum. So if you look at a rib cage, you've got, like at the bottom, you've got the two short ribs. Basically, those are just connected to your spine, but they don't wrap around. And then you've got these four bottom ones that all wrap all the way around, and they all connect to one anchor point on each side of your sternum. And so they had to cut through the one anchor point on the left side to move the ribs, and then they reattached it. But she put that ultrasound wand under and just popped it off. So I'm still walking around with part of my rib cage not attached because I haven't been able to go see the surgeon again.
Well, I had a triple bypass last year, so I've got
Oh
the
my
scar.
goodness.
So I know, so I'm good, but I know what it feels like to be ripped open, man. It's not good.
Yeah. No, it's brutal, and it's and I can't even imagine with actually going through the sternum. That would suck. Like they told me my recovery was supposed to be brutal, and I'm realizing because my nerves weren't attached anymore, I couldn't feel most of it. So that was helpful. But yeah, like it was ridiculous, and just it is. It's good to be able to though, yeah, for sure. Because I couldn't for a while. I was just so angry.
You have such a story to tell. You have such a story, and it's a testimony to your spirit. That's why I love the fact that you call Faith. Can I ask what name you chose when you were transitioning?
Yeah, I had been Alexander, actually. I had gone through a couple options, and my friend group at the time helped me pick it. And it was funny because during
what did you like
COVID,
about Alexander?
I had, what was it? There was Alex and Felix. I liked those names for some reason. I don't know why. I think it was just the X's. And I think it was also with Alexander because I could get nicknames. Because with Faith, I didn't have nicknames, right? Like you can't make a nickname out of that name. It's just Faith. It's just a single syllable. That's it. I had people in like middle school call me Faffy at one point because a friend of mine, he had German heritage, and he had found a word called Fafnir. And Fafnir was the name of a dragon in German lore. And like Germanic lore. And so he liked the word dragon. He liked Fafnir, but he was like, I'm not going to sit here and try and call you Fafnir because no one's going to call you that. So he just shortened it to Faffy. And I was like, that's ridiculous. But whatever. Even teachers would call me that. That just became my nickname.
That became your name, Faffy.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But so Alexander gave me a lot of different options. I could have that long professional sound, but I could also just shorten it to Alex or Xander. Like my dad would call me Xander. Al. Yep. I had somebody call me Al. I had a couple people call me that. Actually, it was usually older men. No, no, I don't. And even when I was transitioned, like I used to think that guys would accept me as a boy. That wasn't what happened. They knew I was a girl. But because I was not the typical female who would question all of their feelings and piss them off, they were quite fine being vulnerable with me. Like they were able to complain about their girlfriends or just life in general, and they were actually okay talking to me about those things, whereas I would see a lot of other women usually cut them off and not be opened up to again. So to be able to be accepted in that space, even though I was a female and I knew that they didn't think I was a man, I knew that they were just accepting me in. But yeah, it was very interesting.
All my life, I've met women who prefer the company of men, and not just sex. They actually just prefer the company of men. And some of them, they're not even tomboys. Some of them, some just prefer it. And that's the spectrum. See, it's not like woman does this, man. We're all the way through. Because over here, we're friends with a woman called Miss Lister. She's really angry because she feels that there's a genocide going on, not against trans people, but against gays and lesbians, effeminate men, lesbian men, tomboys, and the tomboys can't exist where the tomboys can grow up to be, well, who knows, married women, happily very feminine. And, the feminine guys, if they're gay, who cares? You're born that way. That's what I truly believe. So this is what I think is the danger. I'm not saying that we shouldn't transition those who have gender dysphoria. I just feel you're a perfect example of why we have to take it slowly and make absolutely sure we can't fast track this.
No, exactly.
It's not like fixing a light switch,
No, and the problem is there are criteria to be able to tell kind of who's who, because there are people who will transition for different reasons. It's just the fact that we've now deemed it offensive, essentially, to actually acknowledge someone's mental. Like, you're not allowed to call somebody transgender mentally ill. It's not a mental illness. They don't classify it that way anymore. Even though you need a diagnosis to be transitioned, it's not a mental illness. It's a physical one. And so that's the whole problem. They're not treating it as a mental disorder. They're trying to explain to people that it's a physical ailment that needs to be solved with surgeries and the medication. And that's the only way to solve it. You're not able to solve it with therapy, even though there's research that states there were two groups of people. There was a group that was told you're allowed to transition as quickly and as much as you want, basically, as fast as you think you need to, as fast as we possibly can. The other group was told you're never allowed to transition. You have to go get psychotherapy instead. The version of, like, the group of people who were transitioned did worse, and most of them killed themselves or died from the complications. Then you have the other group who was not allowed to transition and got psychotherapy. They were thriving, doing fantastically well. We know this. The problem is you get more money when you get to diagnose a fake problem that doesn't actually exist, or it does exist and you're going to sell them the solution that's going to fix everything when it doesn't. Every complication that comes from the procedures, they're going to treat as a completely separate problem. They will not take you off of the medications that are causing these other complications. They'll just give you more medication so that they can treat this other problem that came from the medications you're on to transition, right? Like, there are people who are dysphoric, who are trans, or believe they are, who have to come off of the medications because it's killing them. But they don't tell you that beforehand. Even the people it does work for, they have to come off of the meds because it hurts them. It shortens your lifespan. And your body is not designed to work that way. Like, even with what was it? With female to male, I believe, you're not allowed to take testosterone pills because that's harder on the liver than anything else. But all of it will still be hard on your liver if you're female to male, because your liver is not designed to take that much synthetic testosterone, and your liver is designed to take out toxins. Testosterone, like that, is an anabolic steroid, and it's synthetic, and so it's specifically a carcinogen. You know, and so that makes it extremely dangerous for the body and quite detrimental to anything. But yeah, and absolutely, they make up new problems for sure to make more money as well. But yeah,
How do you feel now?
I have never been better. I've actually been able to find, he's a, oh, what is he? I think his actual title is a chiropractor, but he was trained in musculoskeletal work. And so he's actually, my partner fences. He loves fencing, and we were able to find a group for him that's
found
local.
a partner.
Yes, I was able to find a partner,
That's
actually.
good.
Yes. No, he's been wonderful. We've been together over a year. It's been a year and a half.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How'd you find him?
Online, actually. It was lovely. Yeah, there was an app actually that uses the 16 personality trait thing, where you like do the test and find out if you're the letters, like what was I? INTP? I think I'm INTP. But it goes through that, and so we just had one letter that was different, so we were very similar, just in how we were. Yeah, it was quite nice, actually, just because it was, there were a lot of people and there was a lot of timing. Yeah.
Finding, you know, we've got 8 billion people on the planet. 8 billion.
Yep.
And one of our biggest problems is finding a lover. You think it'd be so easy, you know?
Yeah.
Think
No,
like
it
Amazon.
was funny.
No. But instead, it's really difficult, you know?
Yeah. Well, to find something that's actually meaningful, but it, again, like, the only way I can describe, he says it's coincidence, but the only way I can describe it is that I don't believe in coincidence. But
can I ask you something else? And you don't have to answer this one, but once you did find someone and they accepted you for who you are, what was that like? Because that was all you were really wanting from the world.
That was everything I needed. Yeah, no, like,
that was all you needed.
I always thought that I was too masculine, I was too aggressive, I was too this, I was too that, I couldn't be a girl, I didn't sit properly. Exactly. But like, finding somebody, because the other thing too is anyone I was ever dating was usually more feminine than I was, whether it was like actually physically more feminine looking, or they were mentally more feminine. Like, even the men I dated would be with like female in terms of how they argued, or they were just manipulative, they were dumb. Like, it was just a stupid situation all around, and it was just that
Not
feminine
really.
neuroticism.
Because I think your heart has its own taste buds, and your heart
Yes.
chooses
Yeah.
for you. You have no
Absolutely.
choice.
No.
I mean, and you'll
No,
know
you don't.
that when you get. I'm 60. Now you get to my
Mhm.
age, you're going to have all these people in your past, and you're going to have all these relationships going, and you think to yourself, "What the hell was I doing with that person?" But
Yeah.
it's your heart. Your
Absolutely.
heart goes that person,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's how it is. And I
Mhm.
tell people, the heart is a map that the mind won't read. So that
Yes.
sensible part
Yeah.
of you goes, "That doesn't make sense," but the heart goes,
Mhm.
"Trust." It's like a hippie.
Yeah.
Trust. Have
Yeah.
faith. Have faith.
Yeah.
So this, yeah.
Yeah. No,
But it must have
absolutely.
been so nice to meet someone and just
Mhm.
finally there you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your thoughts on the state and the medical people that have put you through this now? Have you forgiven them, or you still want justice, or what do you think?
Mm, I have forgiven them for what they did to me, but I'm not so ignorant and naive to think that they are still not hurting people. So, like, I
No,
still need
they're not.
to, like, I still need to hold them accountable at that point, because they're so when I was transitioned, I had just gone through the emergency room, and they transitioned because they said I was suicidal because I was trans. I was suicidal for the other reasons, but they had just clung to that. But there's a high school that's down the street from the hospital that I was transitioned at. That high
Mhm.
school, and there's a middle school as well, but I know the high school for sure is funneling kids. I don't know if the middle school is, but the high school is funneling children from the high school down the street to the doctors with the teacher's permission behind the parents' backs. So when I
Yeah.
found out
No,
about
that makes
that,
sense.
I had to start saying something. And I was already kind of speaking out before that anyway, but once I found someone who was transitioned by the same doctor and how she was treated worse than I was, I couldn't. I'm not afraid of these people. I have absolutely no problem going up to them and screaming in their face that you absolutely can't transition a child. But that's because I wasn't abused the same way by these people.
Yeah,
These
but the
other
other
kids are
thing
absolutely
too,
abused. Hmm.
you were ready to check out, and a voice
Yeah.
said, "No, stick around till you're 25."
Yeah.
You might have been given a great purpose and burden to
Yeah.
actually do what you're doing now. This is
Yep.
what you're here to
Exactly.
do, you
And this
know?
is what I found, that I was able to,
And
once
do
I
it.
hit 25 and everything made sense. That was why it made sense, because I had just enough trauma to know that bad people existed. But the problem was, the person who hurt me wasn't intentional about it. Like, he probably had issues, sure, but he was probably abused as well. He insists he was,
Yeah,
actually, which is not an
yeah.
excuse, but it's a matter of, if he was abused, that was all he knows, and nobody actually helped him, because he tried getting help. He went to a psychiatrist when I was younger, and the psychiatrist basically looked at him and said, "You're not crazy. You're just, pardon my language, you're just an asshole." Like, that's what the doctor said to him. This is a psychiatrist. The man was going because he was diagnosed as potentially schizophrenic by the doctor. And this man's going to say, "Oh, no, you're not crazy." Like,
Just
pardon?
an asshole.
You know? And it's just,
Did he
that
pay
was
for
kind of, I don't know, actually. He might have.
Yeah, you're not
Um,
crazy, you're an asshole. Time's up. That'd
yeah.
be $300 things, so
But yeah. But yeah, my dad basically said, "I'm never going back to him again." And so he never got help. And he was on antipsychotics for a while, and that made him really, really unpleasant. Like, it just,
yeah,
there were a whole bunch of different things that added to it,
yeah.
that just, he tried getting help, he couldn't, and then he just gave up. And so that, like, the moment you give up, nobody can help you anymore, right?
No,
And
that's
so that
right.
was kind of it. Mom was stuck between a
And
rock
you
and a
have to
hard
help
place.
yourself too, which is what you've done.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
hate to say, from listening to your story now, I would say you're the one that's got yourself through this.
Yeah. No,
You.
God did. It wasn't just me.
Well,
I
I
certainly
understand
would
God
not have
did.
done
No,
it
I give
alone.
God too, but
Yeah.
you're the one here on the
Yeah.
planet fighting this
Yeah.
and having and that streak of common sense in you,
Hmm.
this sensible perch,
Yeah.
is really what's held you together in a world that was literally trying to kill you and
Yeah.
doing it thinking they're helping you.
Yeah.
But imagine now if you had no breasts, because we've heard that
Oh
if
my
you did
goodness.
get
Yeah.
pregnant, the milk still
Yeah.
comes, even though there's no breast, there's great
Yeah.
pain. You couldn't be with your partner because you've done the fully transition,
Hmm.
and you could be
Yeah.
utterly lost. And I'm not saying
Oh,
some it
absolutely.
works for some, but you could be
Hmm.
utterly lost, and this
Yeah.
conversation could be completely
Yeah.
different. And you did
Absolutely.
you did that. Do you know what's really interesting too? I know
Mm.
in the past bad things happen, but that wasn't your fault either.
No,
That's
yeah,
nothing to do with you. You
yeah.
know what
It
I
took
mean?
a
And
while to learn that, but yeah.
yeah, so this is it. You're just one tough mother. Well, you're going to be a mother when you have kids, but that's what you are. You're really one tough individual. And now, instead of being full of rage and hate, you're just wanting to save those from taking the same journey as you. And that's a noble,
Mhm.
beautiful thing to be. You got every
Thank
right to just hate the world and get out
you.
there and do nasty shit, and you're
Yeah.
not. I'm so
No.
glad you agreed to come on. I just want to
Oh,
read
my
out some
pleasure.
of the we've
Yeah.
highlighted some comments here. I just want to be
Good.
so this is it. We're in Australia here. Let me
Mm,
just go through here. So this is New Joy. Thanks for sharing here tonight. Most people are like
mm,
this. Ishi, wow, what an enduring spirit. Angels are watching you over, Faith. You are
mm.
for you to be here today with us. I totally agree. I think it might be a
Absolutely.
bit more than that, actually.
Yeah.
I think everyone is somewhat uncomfortable in the skin when they're young. You either are muscular enough, or you're too pale or dark, whatever you wished. You were like, yeah, you don't seem to fit your own ideal. I'll tell you something
Mhm.
funny. Look, I got these. You can't see them now; they're not really big. But when I was a kid, I had these big ears, and people used to
Yeah.
go, "Oh, you got big ears." I was about
Mhm.
17. And I thought, oh, I'm sick of being wearing my hair like this. And I went
Yeah.
into this hairdresser, and I said, I want short back and sides. And she went, yeah, sure.
Mhm.
And then she looked down. She goes, oh, we should really cover
Oh,
those ears.
ridiculous.
Thanks,
What's wrong
bitch.
with my ears?
Thanks,
Yeah,
bitch.
exactly. Yeah.
Richard Ford, gorgeous man. My nickname at school was Melonhead. Didn't bother you. Maybe
Yeah.
it should have. Maybe it should have. There's did they offer you trauma counseling first?
Yeah, the transitioners did not. No. They because again, they don't believe it's a psychiatric disorder, and I was seeing a therapist separately, and so they just kind of were hands off with the whole mental part of it.
Yeah.
They figured, "Oh, they're handling that part over there. We don't have to deal with that. We just have to deal with the drugs."
We're the
And that's not how
mechanic.
it works.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, precisely. They're trying to separate the body from the spirit, and they're finding people who are already pre-dissociated so that it's easier because to
they're
break a
getting
child
very
from a
vulnerable people.
comfortable yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
like
give
my
them
father was out of the
attention.
home already, and my mom and I had a very rocky relationship because she
Yeah.
was not aware of the abuse for a long time. And
Mm,
so, like, that was a big thing as well. Like, I had all of these things I was dealing with. I thought they weren't even real. Then I realized they were real. And I told her, and she didn't really know what to do with
mm.
that. Like, there was no resources for her, there wasn't any help. Her family wasn't fantastic with dealing with situations like that either. Like, she
Yeah,
had
and
history
lots of guilt
of that.
on her
Yeah.
side as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. You
Wow,
know, and
Faith, you're
so it
one
was just
special
full on.
person, says Barbara. Chris Badham, you took your power back. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was early on in the interview. I thought that same
Mhm.
thing. Thanks, Chris. You continue to triumph, Faith. Full respect to you. That's from my partner.
Oh, thank you.
Well done, Faith, coming through to trauma and cultivate strong spirit and depth of character. That's it.
Mhm.
You're quite incredible, your character for what you've been through. What
Thank you.
Faith is describing is sadly the best argument against the use of puberty blockers I have yet heard.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm hoping this will spread all across Australia because people are so
Mhm.
confused
Absolutely.
here. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I heard about the recent hearing. I believe that was in Australia with Sally Grover's
yeah,
situation. Yeah,
yeah. The
yeah,
courts had said if I decide I'm a woman tomorrow, I'm a woman, which I find
mhm,
we're going to have a show talk about that tomorrow. But
yeah,
it's I'll leave that for then.
yeah,
Good
but
on you,
no, it's
Faith, for
absolutely
speaking up.
unfortunate. Mm,
Thank you for sharing your light. The current medical system pushed on our children needs to be held accountable, and those involved made responsible. I think so too.
yeah,
It needs far greater study,
yeah,
really impartial
absolutely.
study. We can't just muck around
Mhm,
with kids' lives. You know what I
no,
mean? Yeah. It's just going through here. The parents not allowed to help their children. That's the
correct. Yeah,
terrifying thing. I have
yes,
a few people over here that in that situation. If they talk or if they
yeah,
tell their child they don't think they should transition, they'll
mhm,
remove the child.
yes, and they
So they
have
just
been
have to
removed.
stay
There have been
silent.
instances in BC,
Yeah.
British Columbia, where the children are actually removed.
Oh, this. Jane Dean, I wish I could
Yeah,
give you a cuddle, Faith. What a path you have traveled. You intelligent young woman who's extremely brave to be able to tell a story. I concur with that. I'm a
thank you so
hugger.
much.
I concur with that.
Yeah,
You are a sense of humor is awesome, Faith. You could They couldn't steal your common sense, Jason. I think there's a
No.
name there, Jason. Just saying, I'm not a great
Yeah.
speller, but I think there's a name. But we get it. They couldn't steal your common sense.
Mhm.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
That's
No,
that's your
absolutely.
rock, you know.
Mhm.
And coming up this, this was interesting, Sophia.
Mhm.
If it was a physical ailment, there would be biomarkers. If that was the case, there would be clear, quantifiable biomarkers, including blood
Mhm.
tests or scans.
Yep.
You know.
And they argue that they can do MRI scans to see that the brain is different, because when you have someone who's same-sex attracted, their brain will actually look like the opposite sex sometimes, because the same pleasure centers for a man goes off seeing a woman as a woman who's attracted to women going off seeing a woman. And so
Hmm.
they'll argue that those scans can prove that someone is trans. And so they do try to do that. There was a doctor who tried to do that when we went to do the press conference. The gentleman who was organizing a lot of it was Jeff Evely, 20-year veteran for the Canadian Armed Forces. And his daughter was transitioned while he was deployed. He came back for that appointment. And the doctors, he tried getting evidence from the doctors saying, like, what evidence do you have to show that my daughter is actually what you think she is? And the doctors basically said, well, I can't satisfy you with the evidence you want, but I've peered into your daughter's heart and soul, and she's a boy. For one, that was one doctor. And then the other one, anytime he tried to bring evidence, the one actually did mention these MRI scans, and he's like, well, did you do any of those scans, or are you going to? Like, you gonna try to prove it? He's like, no, we haven't, we weren't going to, because they can't always prove it. I'm like, okay, brilliant. Yeah.
We're going to completely, the happy ending we were all waiting for, Faith. Congratulations. Everyone's very happy you found someone. There's a Faith, you're such a beautiful person, balanced and genuine. Thank you for this interview. Agree, Michael. Her calling. That's when we're talking about her calling.
Mm-hmm.
Faith has a very strong survival instinct. Thank you, God. Yeah, your choices led to a healing path, Faith. Wow, you've really won people over here in Australia. Your story needs to be a movie. I agree. I totally agree, and it's an important movie, or important documentary, because we have
there
to
were actually,
there
were a
Dan
couple.
Murphy, you're such a beautiful soul, Faith. Thanks for sharing your journey throughout about your life. Enjoyed listening to you explaining what you've been through. Sending hugs, more hugs. Sending hugs to you and your partner for a happy future. Don't come to Australia, be hugged to death. You've chosen to tell you the truth. Exactly, Michael. What a learning lesson. Amazing strength. And there, Lisa Coma. Lisa's been through a lot. She lost her son, her youngest son. She's a great friend of mine. She's been through a lot. It was all you, Faith. You got through this. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so sorry
And
about this
thank
one as
you,
well.
Trish. Thanks, Faith. I pray Faith's eggs are okay. Oh, so do I.
Yeah.
And be blessed with a healthy baby if she decides to be one in the future. And keep it away from doctors.
Yep. Yeah. I've been learning a lot after all this. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of those. And for
no
the
problem.
ones that I may not have seen.
Truly wish you the best. And thank you, because when I got there, it said you were locked, and I think she's probably going to go, "What's this old guy thinking?" So it was really, I was really moved when you reached out, and this is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted a conversation.
Yeah,
not trying to prove this or this or this. It's a very complicated situation, complicated world we live in, but ultimately, the child is the most important thing, not any ideology.
No,
it's the child. Yeah. And you just deserved love and worth from love. You would have got that. Yeah. I'm very sorry you didn't get it, Faith. Yeah.
I am as well, but on the same track, if I had gotten proper care, I would not have been nearly as strong or outspoken, So it had to happen the way it did, but here we are.
That's a warrior talking.
Thank you.
That's true. That's a warrior spirit. Yeah. I wish you the best. God bless to you. God bless you. Well, can I stay in the studio just for a sec? We're just going to play a song, and don't worry about this song. I threw things in AI, and this is all about always believe in love. But it says my name. It's a bit freaky. It's narcissistic, but I'm not narcissistic. It's just AI. But it'll stick in your head like glue. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be with you in 2 secs after this. Take care. Okay. Wow. Wow, please share this. Please share this incredible voice. And we need to have a discussion all over Australia about this. It's insane at the moment. So we're blessed that Faith came on and shared her good sense. Anyway, we're going out with Always Believe in Love. I know. But anyway, that's the song we're going out with tonight. See ya.
After your brother died, you didn't have to bother with me. I'd fucked up again until every bridge should have been in flames. But as I was packing up what little remained, the phone rang and it was you. And although you never spoke the actual words, what you said to me was, Michael, always believe in love. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. I watched you walk down my streets together, you in the front of your man, lost in your boy. You're speaking a language of pausing across the road or sorting the shopping items each will carry home. And although you have never noticed me, I can hear you both whispering. And you are whispering to me, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Always believe in love. You were singing on the stage with your sisters, dancing to some rainbow fairy tale. Your voices were all small and out of time. Still we pressed record and held up our candle phones, for despite the flames of our burning world, we could all hear the angels singing. Oh, Michael. 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 Always believe in love. We're alone and lost somewhere on Facebook. There's a gorilla loving a fallen human child, and we're all wrestling with shadows while wondering if inside the dark we will finally find the flower that perpetually grows. Oh, Michael. In that garden our gods call. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Always believe in love.
That's here. End stream. Yep.